Welcome to this Broadcom video on the IWSz and AAI integration. In this video, we install and configure the AAI connector on an independent host. The topic of this video is the connector for AAI. The integration uses a custom Apache Tomcat web server with a single connector web app. Data files are delivered using the software instance. Then those files are made available to AAI over HTTP or HTTPS. As soon as you start Tomcat, the web application is deployed and accessible. The connector requires almost no configuration. We start with 3 hosts: IWSz, AAI, and the connector. You download the connector software and upload it to the dedicated system. You unzip it, and the connector is installed. There's a single web application called IBM Workflow Scheduler Connector which deploys when the web server is started. The rest of the configuration, API URL and directories, is done in the AAI web UI. Data is published via REST over HTTP, which means we simply enter the web app URL as the API access point. This is standard Tomcat. The connector assumes delivery of the data files based on the instance configuration we defined earlier when we configured IWSz server for AAI. The connector translates them into structured JSON messages that are readable by AAI. They are published over HTTP or HTTPS. As a result, the connector's API URL needs to be known by AAI and will add it to the connector configuration in the web UI. We strongly recommend deploying TLS so that access to the IWSz connector is secured. Note that Broadcom does not provide any sort of proprietary TLS SSL deployment. You deploy via standard Apache TLS mechanisms, and the procedure is publicly available on apache.org. We explain startup, the Windows service to automate at boot, the web application server.xml, the set env file for certain options, and the logs. Default memory pool configuration is insufficient and needs to be updated. It can be done in several places that are consistent with Tomcat. Tomcat requires the Java Software Development Kit and the JRE won't do. You'll need to define the appropriate environment variables in the Windows Advanced Properties config tab or in your etc profile. Broadcom provides no proprietary tools for TLS. Simply refer to apache.org. The bin directory contains the Windows Service installer and uninstaller scripts. If you want to update some options, you would create the set env.bat or .sh here. The configuration or conf directory contains server.xml. The logs directory contains the log files. The web apps directory contains the web application WAR file that deploys when Tomcat is started. IWS connector exe is a Windows shortcut to start the service. If you would prefer to use catalina.exe or .sh run, that's fine. This starts Tomcat in the background. You can also use startup.sh or .bat, which starts Tomcat in interactive mode. Finally, IWS connector W lets you update the memory pools. This does not exist on Unix and has to be stored in setenv.sh. You can also do this on Windows in setenv.bat. If you have a preferred method of doing this in Tomcat, you should use it. IWS connector W is just a convenience. In the root directory, we find 2 files that are Windows-specific. IWS connector exe starts the service. It doesn't do anything more than execute startup or Catalina run, but you can place it on your desktop. To check that Tomcat is running, look for the Catalina process. IWS connector WEXE contains the Tomcat properties. In the Java tab, you should change the initial and maximum memory pool values submitted to the JVM, since they are too low. Depending on data volumes, you can set to 1024 and 2048, or go much higher, say 4096 and 8192. Ultimately, the performance of the connector over time will make that determination for you. Note that you do not need to use the exe to do this. You can create a setenv.sh or .bat in the Tomcat bin directory and set a value for Catalina OPTS. In the bin directory, you find the connector service install and uninstall scripts for Windows. We ask that you install the service before starting Tomcat. Then you use the service to start and stop the connector. These are the two batch scripts for installing and uninstalling the service. Depending on where you install the connector, the default Tomcat port 8080 may be in use. If you need to change it, open server.xml and look for the connector port and executor sections. There, you'll be able to change the port. The Tomcat connector is resilient and not prone to problems. You simply start it and use it. If issues do happen, contact the customer support organization. They will ask for the log directory. Zip it and send it to us. The web apps directory contains the connector app. It doesn't need to be added since it's already in the package. When you start Tomcat, the web app deploys into a directory which contains two subdirectories for meta-inf and web-inf, which contain the application's assets. We show how to install the connector. Let's check our variables. We downloaded the package in a directory appropriate for the connector. Let's install the Windows service first. We can update the memory pools. We start the service, check the logs and the deployment of the web application. Thank you. This concludes the video.